There was no way he would go to that event with her. No, it was the next morning and he had been in his study room. His father had asked him to go with Debbie to the fleas. He remembered Debbie used to talk about it when they just started dating. It was one of her dreams then. Debbie was achieving her dreams after all. She had earned it dubiously though. Everything about it was all for show. Publicity stunts, celebrities awards night, especially those that had been successful, to get the press running around them during the last few months. His family had been invited, but his father wouldn't be joining. He needed all the time to rest and relax. Your father wants you to represent him, Francis. You need to be there. Besides, you cannot avoid her forever. He was speaking with Angela on the phone, and he knew she was right. Remember, your father needs all the strength to stay with you longer, and you wouldn't want him to waste it in cheap publicity and invent stunts, all because of your stepmother. She was right also, but he made no reply. Nicholas Francis, are you listening to me at all? She snapped at him so loudly. He had to shift the phone a bit away from his ear. He had been quiet all through, and it usually pissed her off. Yes, Angela, I am with you, but I don't want to go alone. Then take Rosa with you. His brows went up. Why hadn't he thought about that? Is there a gown she can wear amongst the ones we bought yesterday? Angela was quiet for a while. There is, but fleece is too big for that. I will forward a link to you on Messenger, and all you need to do is order for the dress. Get your wallet up, boy, she shouted excitedly as she ended the call. He heaved a sigh of relief. She had always been a lifesaver. He put down the receiver as he had a knock. Who is it? Rosa. He smiled and stood up to open the door for her. Good morning, Francis, and thanks for yesterday. I enjoyed myself. I am so grateful for all those beautiful things. God bless you. He leaned against the door. He realized she had tidied up his bedroom for him and was probably coming to tidy up his study too. She looked naturally beautiful in the pink pajamas she was wearing. How long have you been here? Just some minutes ago, she replied, still smiling, looking at him with her pretty eyeball. He needed to get a hold of himself. You are welcome, Rosa. How is the book coming up? I have started all over again, using the few details I was fortunate to get from you. A little background of your life first. Nice. I will check them later tomorrow or thereabouts. When is your next class? Next week, Tuesday, she replied. Oh, you have enough time to tidy up things and catch up on where you had stopped initially, he replied, stepping aside so she could enter the room. She nodded as she brushed past him. His phone vibrated and he went to check it. It was a message on his messenger from Angela. He smiled as he saw the gown. It was just the perfect one for her. He held the phone up so she could see the dress. He loved the way she went so wide-eyed and gasped. That is so gorgeous. It is the most beautiful gown I've ever seen. He smiled. Glad to hear that because I'm buying it for you right now. She was rigid. The expression on her face was that of utmost shock. Why? It's too much, Francis. You have already spent too much on me. Please, don't buy it. It is too expensive. Did you see the price tag? He frowned. I thought you liked it. Yes, I do, but why would you buy it for me? Because you, my dear, are following me to the fleas as my date. He watched as her jaw dropped. Her face was a mixture of panic, excitement, and surprise. The fleas. Yes, Rosa. I know it's every lady's dream to be there. I know, but I cannot go, she replied sadly. Why not? Because it has always been Debbie's dream, and she will be there. I don't want to be the cause of anything. It's too late, for I already ordered for it, and it will soon be here. He lied, but she looked sad, which he hated. Without thinking, he went closer, putting a hand warmly on her cheek and stared into her eyes. "Rosa, you need to start living your life irrespective of what she thinks. She doesn't think or care about other people's feelings. Besides, if she says anything, tell her I orchestrated the whole thing, okay?" She nodded. A smile was coming up, and so was a tear at the corner of her left eye. He used his thumb to stop it before it could fail. She looked down. "I am sorry. Nobody has ever spent so much on me before." Probably it was the statement she just made now, or the fact that his hand was still on her cheek and they were standing so close, or the way she was looking into his eyes and he into hers. But something had been triggered, which put the moment on hold, and all the desire of his brain and subconscious was to kiss her. There was a sort of magnet which he couldn't shake off. He didn't want to. He leaned closer. He got so close he could feel her breath on his face. Then his phone rang. He looked out the window. The sky was star black and the large clouds were moving towards them. The tapping on the windows increased and turned into pitter-patter. People ran for cover as umbrellas were opened in the street. As the clouds spat out its beads of water, puddles began to form and the rain got heavier, hitting the roof of the car in a lyrical rhythm. He had asked Steve to drive Debbie home as her driver got sick and kept vomiting for having eaten too much. So it was just the two of them. She sat beside him as he drove. Her head was resting against the window, her hand wrapped around the medals they had been given as the best couple alongside the one she was given as being the most beautiful. It was a surprise and they hadn't even expected it. He couldn't describe the look on Debbie's face when she had lost the medal to Rosa. It was a surprise. He hadn't seen that coming. "Rosa, are you okay?" he asked. She gave a sigh and replied, "I don't think Debbie will ever forgive me for this." The table just turned on her. "If you ask me, you know." "How do you mean?" "Well, you know she can do and undo anytime she wants something. She can use anyone and do whatever to get it. She has always wanted this award and now you got it without even trying. Don't you think it's karma?" "Karma wouldn't save me from her anger," Rosa replied. "Believe me, she won't do anything to you. Just try to explain and stop punishing yourself." She sighed again and then finally turned around to face him. "Why did you do that?" His brows went up. "Do what? Did you kiss me just because you want to hurt her the same way she had done to you?" He gasped. "No, Rosa, I didn't kiss you because I wanted to hurt her, okay? I kissed you because..." He paused for a while, running a hand through his hair. "Because those press vultures needed something which I gave." She was silent and later replied, "So you are saying you kissed me for the camera and the whole girlfriend thing was a show also?" He nodded. "Yeah, and the whole girlfriend thing may last for a bit. I need to chase those ladies off me, and I saw it as the best opportunity in using you to drive them away. The kiss wasn't real, so do not stress yourself. It wasn't a big deal," he lied. An expression of hurt and disappointment flashed across her face, but she cleverly covered it up. "All right," she said quietly and said nothing more. He knew he had hurt her feelings, but why was she hurt? What did she expect? That he would tell her he had always wanted to kiss her since the other day, or that he was beginning to have feelings for her? He wasn't even sure of the feelings. Besides, she had Luke, whom she had a thing for. He wouldn't mess that up for her. "By the way, how is Luke? You didn't tell me what happened after you talked." "Nothing much. He only wanted to make sure that everything was cool between us." "Has he finally asked you to be his girlfriend?" She smiled a little. "Not really, but I have a feeling he would." "And what will be your reply if he asks?" She shrugged. "I like him. There is nothing stopping me from saying yes." "Is there?" He smiled and shook his head. "I don't see why not." Just then her phone rang and she picked it. The name she called sent a chill of jealousy down his spine, and he did much to ignore it. "Hi, Luke," she gasped and turned to face Francis. "What is it?" Francis asked. She put a hand to cover the speaker of the phone and whispered to him. "He just congratulated me for the medals and said we need to see." "Was he at the event?" Francis asked. "I don't know," she replied and returned back to the call. "It's not what you think, Luke. Please, when I get back, I will come see you tomorrow." She pressed a button and ended the call. "What now?" Francis asked. "I don't know. I just know I have a good explanation to give," she replied. Debbie had no idea how long she had stayed awake, but she knew it was close to morning. She kept tossing on the bed, unable to focus. She knew she could never get any sleep when she had come back from the fleas few nights ago. She was wide awake. Dark circles were beginning to form around her eyes from lack of sleep, but that was not one of her worries. She kept reliving that night, that horrible night. She got betrayed by someone she trusted so much. She couldn't get past it. She didn't even go out ever since then. Of course, she had everyone worried. She lied to Frank she was sick and needed some time to herself, so she slept alone in her room. Her stomach rolled over as she remembered the scene when he had kissed her. The kiss was not really the problem with her, maybe slightly though, but her main problem was her dressing. She totally stole her thunder. Why would he buy her such a dress? Why did she even come? And why was he looking at Rosa all through the night in that way she knew so well? She remembered that expression. That was when they just met, when Francis was asking her out, when he had fallen in love with her. The way he had kissed Rosa and the way she had responded, Debbie almost died of heart attack. It was obvious they were both in love with each other. This was not what she had planned. She only wanted Francis to sleep with Rosa and in the process give her information she needed, not to bloodily help fall in love with each other. This was a nightmare. She needed something right now, and she knew what she needed to get her mind off this. Even though she looted John, being with him would really help her right now. By the time she got to his room door, she stopped as she heard voices. There was a lady in the room with him already. She slammed her eyes shut in disappointment and was about to turn. She stopped as she heard her name in their conversation. "But he looks so strong. He doesn't seem to be dying to me," said the lady. Debbie tried to picture who the lady could be, but she couldn't identify the owner of the voice. She heard John chuckled as he replied, "I am the closest to him, sweetie. He is sick. Been sick for almost a year, if not more. One of the reasons he needed to see his son. Frank is old and has spent too much time of his life working. That is so sad. Does the new wife know?" "You mean Debbie?" "Yeah, I'm not sure she knows. It would be disastrous if she does, because she is only after Frank's money and fame. Did you read the magazine that stated she lost the award to Rosa?" "Oh, yes, I did. I felt so sorry for her. You should have seen her face." John chuckled again. "I am very certain Frank will not leave her a dime. The only one getting anything is Francis and any woman who ends up marrying him. That would be Rosa, isn't it? I don't know since he hasn't asked her to marry him yet. But I will be happy if they do marry. Their pictures just happen to be everywhere and they look so good together." Fear, shame and anger exploded inside Debbie as she walked back to her room. Frank was dying and no one told her. She was going to be a widow soon with nothing, and Rosa would take everything. She tried to calm herself down as she opened the door of her room and slumped on the bed. She needed to do something very fast. Rosa must not double-cross her twice. She would have to take matter into her own hands. If the person getting something out of this is the person that ends up marrying Francis, then she will end up with Francis and she will give it her all. But there was only one person who could help with that: her mother. Rosa had no idea what else to do. She had tried all her best to get to meet with Debbie since 5 days ago to explain to her that everything wasn't as she had thought. 2 days ago, she was with Luke, who was still finding it difficult to make sense out of the whole situation. She could remember how weird the whole explanation had been. "I don't understand what you are saying, Rosa. Are you kidding me right now?" Luke had asked. "I cannot really explain everything, Luke, but just know I am not in a relationship with Francis. He is my boss and he needed that lie to stop girls from coming after him." Luke seemed unconvinced, but she pleaded for him to just trust her. "So you've been staying with the Nicholas all this while, and I didn't know. It's much more complicated than that, Luke. Just trust me, okay? It is really nothing." Luke had been quiet, but then his face brightened up. "So you are saying there is nothing stopping me from asking you to be my girlfriend?" She was relieved to have heard that. She had no plan on telling Luke about her book having to do with this. The lesser he knew, the better. "There is nothing stopping you, absolutely," she replied. That day had ended with them kissing multiple times, but that should have made her comfortable and at least relieved her. If not that she kept comparing Francis' kiss to Luke's kiss. They were totally different. With Francis, she felt a magnetic pull, the kind kiss that makes you weak in the toes, filling you with electric balls. With Luke, it was like kissing a dear friend, like doing something you like doing. The more she tried to push Francis out of her mind, the more she realized this was way more complicated than she would be able to handle. She was in a tangled shit, and she has no idea how she will be out of this mess. She tried to convince herself that once what she shares with Luke gets deeper, the sooner she will get out of this web. She needed someone that would make her reasonable, and that was Luke. It wasn't as if she was using him, was it? She stood up from her seat. She was determined to still give it a try. Why wouldn't Debbie want to see her? She could at least give her a chance. Some minutes later, she was in front of Debbie's room. She knocked twice and was asked to come in. "What do you want?" Debbie asked her, expressionless. "About Francis. Believe me, it was nothing. It was all for show," and she stopped as Debbie waved her hand. "You can keep lying to yourself, Rosa, but don't even lie to my face again. Are you stupid? Do you think I'm a fool? You did what you had to do and you took that award when you know how much it meant to me. But I want to give it back to you, Debbie. I don't need it." Debbie chuckled bitterly. "You know you have just become me more than you realize. Tell me, how did you get to be at that party, Rosa?" "Francis asked me to," she replied. "And your brain didn't tell you that if I wanted you to be there, I would have called you. I'm sure you enjoyed the whole paparazzi and publicity stunt. But don't forget you were only covered in fancy clothes. You are nothing but my maid, a cheap maid. And don't for once think Francis will fall for this rag that you are. You were nothing before you met me, and you are nothing without me. I asked you to spy on him, not to stupidly fall for him. But I'm not. Keep quiet. You are not what? In love with him?" Debbie scoffed. "You double-crossed me, Rosa. That is why I said you are turning into me and you don't even know it. There cannot be two queens in this house, okay? There can only be one, and that one is me. And for this, I want you out of this place this minute. I can see where your loyalty is, Rosa, and it's not with me. It's not even with Francis. It's with you. You are just like me. Your work here is done, Rosa." Rosa gasps. "But Debbie, you asked me to do something. I didn't want to do it initially, and just cause." The slap that landed across her face kept her quiet. Tears swelled up in her eyes. Unable to take any more, she walked out of the room and took out her phone. 2 names popped on her phone screen, Luke and Francis. Without thinking, she dialed Francis' number. Hello, yes, Rosa. What happened to you? Are you okay? I just got fired by Debbie. He was silent for a while and then said, well then, how would you love to work for billionaire Francis Nicholas? Rosa has been waiting for the morning for so long that she couldn't believe her eyes when the sharp shadows cast by the street lamps through the metallic blinds of Luke's window started to fade. Diluted by the onset of daylight, she could hear Luke singing from the kitchen. He must be preparing tea for them both. He has been doing that for the past 7 days since she moved in with him. Contrary to what Francis had said, Francis couldn't imagine what she may likely go through staying in that house with Debbie when he was away on business trip at France. He had asked her to stay and that once he got back, everything would be settled. When she remembered she had a boyfriend, she knew she had to tell him that she lost her job. Luke had been too eager to accommodate her. He of course didn't know the whole story, except that her boss got angry with her and she lost her job. Francis was arriving today. She couldn't wait to see him, especially since Luke had been on her neck and she was close to telling him everything. The sooner she left, the better for the three of them. It has been difficult with Luke trying to adjust with the whole fake relationship thing with Francis, but all she could tell him was to trust her. She knew she was not being fair, but she had promised Francis not to tell Luke anything. She was making great progress. She could already feel it, even with the response she got from Madame Lydia when she sent her the soft copy of the chapters. She was given 70 marks. All she needed was the 30%, which would be easier once she was through writing. Her phone rang and she picked it. It was Francis. Hello, Rosa. Where are you? Where are you too, Francis? I just got to Nigeria now and Steve is here to pick me from the airport. He said you have not been home. Rosa swallowed. Yes, I've been with Luke. I thought I told you not to. He sounded angry. What was his problem? She thought. He's my boyfriend, Francis, and I can go and stay with him, she said emphatically. Okay, pack your things. Send me your address. I'm coming over there to pick you. You can't just come and pick me, Francis. I need to talk things through with Luke. What things? You want to tell him about the whole thing? No, not about the whole thing. Just the reason why I need to leave, which is, I will sort it out. Just give me some time. You have 30 minutes, else I will tell the press you have been kidnapped. What? She shouted, but he ended the call. She hissed and put the phone beside her pillow. Just then, Luke came in carrying a tray containing 2 cups and a flask of hot tea, which he placed carefully on the table, poured some tea into one of the cups and handed it to her while he poured his. Was that Francis? Rosa almost got her tongue burnt, so she put down the cup and nodded slightly. He wants you to come back, right? What did you tell him? Well, I need a job, Luke. What job? He demanded. A job as a PFG, she quinted. What does that even mean? Permanent fake girlfriend. She almost burst into laughter. PFG, seriously. Look, it's not as bad as you are making it seem. Besides, there is nothing in between us. I already told you. I don't trust him, Rosaline. Okay, here we go again. Look, please, I'm sure that is not the job he has for me, okay? And I'm sure the whole fake relationship thing will be over soon. I can get a job for you, Rosa. You don't need to work with him. Get her a job, her book, her future, her career, never. Look, please, I get this, okay? You are saying no to my job and you want to take his job. Well, I'm sure his job will pay much better than whatever you can offer me. He looked hot because he is Francis and he is rich. She didn't want to hurt him any longer. She drew closer and held his 2 hands. I pay for my schooling, Luke. I need the money, please. This is not about wanting to hurt you. This is just my life and me taking charge. Please just trust me. You said your boss got angry with you, the lady of the house. So are you saying you want to go stay in that same house? To this she gave no reply. You can still stay here, you know. She sighed again. This was just getting out of hand. I will ask Francis, she replied, without thinking. He stared at her in disbelief. You will ask your fake boyfriend before you can stay with your real boyfriend. She gasped. That wasn't what she meant, but it sure seemed like that. Dear God, please look, she pleaded. It's not how it seems. Please just trust me. He stood up. You are asking too much of me, Rosa, and this can only work if I get to meet with him. What? No, he didn't just say that. Look, you want to meet him? Yeah, he replied. I'd love to meet my girlfriend's fake boyfriend. I need to set some boundaries, okay? You seem to know him very well. He shouldn't have any problem with that except if he has something to hide. Before she could reply, he was already leaving the room. She was in a deep shit, no doubt. Barely a week in the relationship, and it was already a mess. Thank you so much, Francis. She dialed his number and gave him the update. No, I don't have time for that, Rosa. Now she was getting angry. Francis, you need to meet with him, okay? Why? He asked stubbornly. He is scared that you can't be trusted. I don't need his trust, Rosa, he replied angrily. But I do, she snapped right back at him. This fake thing, cannot get in between my own real life, okay? You may have been used to the whole drama with Debbie, but I don't want to be part of it. That silenced him for a while, but then he started laughing. You are already part of it, Rosa. Did you even tell Luke about the main story of your book? Besides, Debbie still doesn't know about this, does she? So you are lying to Luke and you lied to Debbie. I just decided to keep some things. I didn't lie to anyone. Anyways, tomorrow I will choose the location, 7 p.m. sharp, and tell your boyfriend to suit up. By the way, I am expecting the direction. Go to hell, Francis, she retorted and ended the call. Francis took another look at his wristwatch. It was 5 minutes past 7. He cursed under his breath. If they didn't show up on time, he would definitely be angry with someone. Immediately, he spotted Angela in a beautiful short blue gown, which clung delightfully on her hips. She looked angry, and then he spotted Romeo coming behind her. He is back. He is in the country. You invited him and you didn't think it was necessary for you to have told me. Angela snapped at him, trying to lower her voice. I am sorry, Angela. I just needed both my best friends here. Besides, if I had told you, you would still be angry. Well, consider my support withdrawn. She sat down and signaled to a waiter. Romeo grabbed a drink from a waiter walking by and sat comfortably beside Angela. He had flown in from Italy a day before, after Francis had filled him in on everything. Angela, you have been angry with me like forever. This happened like 4 years ago. Please, we used to be so good together. I am sorry for cheating on you. Can we just move past it? She made no response, but instead grabbed the menu. Why did you ask us to be here, Francis? She asked. Because I am afraid that Luke may want to do something stupid, probably get me jealous or do something crazy. Angela scoffed. What do you mean by that? He means the girl got him. You are tripping, dude. If you don't have a thing for her, you wouldn't need to be all scared up. No, I don't. Besides, I want you both to be present here. I have missed how we used to hang out together. Angela smiled. It's okay to dodge questions. What is not okay is to lie to yourself. Francis was about to protest, but then he saw Rosa coming. His stomach fluttered, seemed like months since he last saw her. She looked radiant. And just as she spotted him, she smiled at him, and he smiled back. But then he got angry as her hand held her. He noticed the man beside her. "Wow, that guy is hot," Angela stated as she looked towards the direction he was looking. She then signaled them to come over. Rosa embraced Angela while Luke shook hands with Romeo and later Francis. He introduced each to other. "How was your trip, Francis?" Rosa asked. "Fine, thank you." "You look good, Rosa." "Thank you, Francis." There was silence. "Can we order?" Angela broke the silence, much to everyone's relief. Some minutes later, they were busy eating. They could only hear the noises of their cutlery. Francis was getting irritated with the way Luke was feeding Rosa and wiping her mouth for her, and the way she was giggling was just pissing him off the more. He knew what Luke was doing. He was sending him a message, which he got clearly. This was stupid. "Luke, would you kindly follow me to the counter?" he asked and stood up. Rosa gave him a surprised and suspicious look, but he ignored her as Luke kissed her and later followed him. "Is there anything you would like to tell me, Luke?" "Tell me, Luke." "I keep noticing you seem as if there is something you want to ask me." Luke shrugged. "Well, I'm just curious with the whole fake relationship thing. I mean, what the hell, man? What did you say to me?" He was beginning to get angrier. "I am saying you need to let her off the hook. It is distracting her. She can't barely make a decision without thinking of you twice. I am the one she should be thinking of, not you. I am her boyfriend, and I won't allow any man to just use her as a puppet." Francis smiled. "Does she know you will be telling me all this? Because if she does, trust me, you won't be here. You said it's distracting her. Maybe she needs to be distracted, or maybe you are the one distracting her. I know her better than you can possibly do." Luke smiled painfully. "She cannot stay in your house, Francis. Did she tell you that?" No reply from Luke. "See, Luke," he continued, "Rosa is a woman that is old enough to make her own decisions. She has been through a lot, and she knows what is good for her. Francis, I'm not here to fight you. I just want you to back off. She is my girl and not yours. You are only using her for publicity stunt." "No, I'm not. Trust me. Rosa knows what she was getting into when she accepted this. There are some things she won't tell you which I know. So you see, maybe you are the one who needs to back off." He could see the pain in his eyes, and he realized he just struck a chord. "I am not here to fight you too, Luke. But trust your girl, okay? And if you cannot trust her, maybe you don't deserve her after all." "What the hell does that mean?" Luke snapped, and instantly, Rosa was already in between them. "What is going on here, Francis?" "Oh, babe, talk to your boyfriend, not me, okay?" Francis replied defensively. "Look," she walked to him, but he stepped back. "You know what? I am out of here," he replied and walked away. "Francis, what did you say to him?" she cried angrily. "He was telling me all sorts of rubbish about why I should back off. Talk to your boyfriend. He cannot come here and be telling me that." "Francis, you were supposed to make peace with him. He is my boyfriend. He has every right to say that to you, and I don't have a right to call his bluff. Look, Rosa, he doesn't want you to come stay. I cannot allow you to keep staying with him." "You cannot what?" "You can't tell me what to do. He is my boyfriend, not you. You have said that a billion times, Rosa." "Yes, thanks for pointing that out. Do you think I'm a stick with no feelings? Do you realize I've been in love with you even before I traveled to Haiti? Do you realize how hard it has been for me to hide it? Now you keep telling me he is your boyfriend. Fine, go ahead. Go on and be with him. I am done." Without waiting for any reply or saying goodbye to his friends, he walked out of the restaurant, ignoring the pairs of eyes that followed him. or the ears that may have heard him.